Good morning, and on today's WOTWIP and Coffee, and I do have coffee, I have some butter pecan syrup in this, just a little bit, give it a little different flavor. I've been going back and forth between the butter pecan and caramel, and I also have a mocha mix, and I've done a mocha with caramel, and these are the skinny mixes. So sugar free, and you don't really have to use a lot. You just need a little tiny bit. I do have pumps on mine so that I can just give a pump or a partial pump is what I say. Oh, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jane, and this is Scraptastic Yarns. And on this channel, you're going to find a whole lot of stuff. Everything from my opinion to crochet, knit, beading, you name it. I do a little bit of everything. So, glad you stopped by. Today we're getting a little bit of snow, so that's interesting. Last night I had Awana. Well, yesterday we had Christian women's luncheon, and I manage name tags for that. So my job is to get the name tags ready for those who have made reservations. So, but during the day we had a young lady that taught us about charcuterie boards, how to create one, and she did a great job with that. We also had quite a few members of us in the group signed up to be handbell, part of a handbell choir, and we played Oh Holy Night and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, the person that was instructing us, we practiced Oh Holy Night twice, and then we didn't practice Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We performed in front of 140 women. Well, there were about 12 of us, and we were part of that 140 women. But it was a lot of fun, and it's amazing how you do not even have to know music, beats of music, to play the handbells, as long as you have a person who knows what they are doing. And our instructor used to be a third grade teacher. She said, if I can teach kindergartners, I can teach you. And we were laughing like, sure, you can teach old ladies how to do this. But it was a lot of fun. So, and of course the group, they enjoyed it. They were clapping and whistling afterwards, telling us how good it was. And, I explained to one of the ladies next to me because she patted me on the shoulder. She said, you guys did an amazing job. She said, how many times did you practice? And I said to her, we practiced Oh Holy Night twice and no practice on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. She was like, oh my goodness. I said, yeah, it was all in the way that our leader was handling the cards to let us know what our which handbells to ring at that time. And that's all it is. And she goes, oh, that is so neat. So we had a good time. It was a great luncheon. We had a guest speaker, Carol LeBeau, and Carol is, as she puts it, a recovering news anchor. she did quite a bit of different things in San Diego, and she was on the Oprah show a couple times, and did the red carpet and the whole 9 yards, and she was telling us all about that, and it was very interesting. But she also, she was very humorous, but not only that, she personalized the entire speech to the people she had met within our group. One of the gals, Linnell, did the charcuterie board, and she addressed that. She talked about Bobby Joe, who does the opening prayer and is the master of ceremonies, and just about each and every one of the ladies that were involved with that. And she kept it very personal, so it felt like she was a friend, is the best way that I can explain it. So, of course, her message was about the gospel, and how throughout her years she assumed that her way to heaven was just to be a good girl and go to church on Sundays and be good, and she'd get to heaven. She didn't realize that you could have a personal relationship. And that was basically what her testimony was about. So it was very rewarding, very nice to see. And of course, they always feed us a meal. It is a luncheon. And the church that we go to that does this, the men in the church cook the meal. And of course, they have help from some of the ladies in the church that help to finish it off and serve it and that kind of thing. So it was just a really nice afternoon. And then, of course, I came home, had about maybe 2.5 hours before I had to go to Awana that evening. And it already started snowing. And I was a little nervous about that because, as you know, I kind of live on this hill, and I was worried about getting back up. But, we stayed in Awana, we did our whole thing, and as we were coming out, there was a whole lot of snow that was falling. It was probably about an inch deep. But the church that I go to, that the Awana is at, as you're leaving, there is a hill that you have to go down. And it was so slick, there was no way to apply the brakes without sliding. So you kind of had to ease it down as easy as you could. But then you get to a point where you just have to let it go with the momentum and kind of pray that there's nobody stepping out in front of you, basically. And I kind of slid all the way home. Almost didn't make it up the hill to get into the house, but did, in the long run. And I was glad. I have 4-wheel drive, but as you know, even in snow and ice, 4-wheel drive is not enough. And I don't have snow tires or chains. Probably should consider getting snow tires just because of where I have to come up that hill and go down it sometimes. So, yeah. But the cats are perfectly enamored with the snow. They are back in the back window watching the snow fall. And Ronan was exceptionally excited when I opened up the blinds for him to look out his window. He sat there for about a good 10 minutes watching the snow fall. Izzy was like, it's okay. And then she went back into the back, and she's kind of back there. I do have some sewing to do in a little bit, so I'll be sewing. And fireplace is on in here. When I go to sew, I will crank on the fireplace in the back and do my sewing, that kind of stuff. that's kind of it, what's going on around here these days. Um, and now we hear President Biden has given $1 billion to Africa. And part of me was excited about that because they have been suffering from a lot of drought, and then they had some flooding. However, then it was revealed that it's not going to reach the people whatsoever. It is going to do a lot of paving on roads, building roads to help their mining business so that their children can pluck those mines for the EV vehicles. I'm not too thrilled with that part, but you know, figure it would go to the people that suffered. But once again, our government's not helping those that are suffering from any kind of natural disasters. And of course, then you find out that he has a shell company that will be being rewarded with those some of those contracts. So, are actually money laundering. But yeah, what can I say? Whatever. I did hear. I know I had talked about the FEMA putting the fence over the road that the West Virginia boys had cleared from Back Cave to Chimney Rock. And apparently yesterday they officials arrested someone, and they're saying that he cut the fence, which I don't think there's proof of that. But I'm not real sure why they're so intent on making sure people can't get back to their properties and people can't look for their loved ones. That seems a little bizarre to me. We do know that they're just burning debris piles without searching them first. We know that there are bodies and there are body parts. But I read something pretty disturbing this morning about that life insurance policies that are on these people that are missing without a body or identifiable body, insurance companies will not have to pay out on their life insurance. And I find that extremely disturbing as well. Because I got to tell you, when Thomas passed away, his life insurance kept me afloat. Luckily, he had 3 policies. 2 of them were with his parents. So, and they weren't real big ones, but they did keep me from losing everything and being able to stay in my apartment because Social Security didn't come for quite some time. His remaining payout from his work took until from February until around the 1st of July to get to me. Then his service pay took another month from that point to get there. So, you know, the life insurance is what kept me going until the Social Security started coming in, and even then, the Social Security isn't all that much, you know. So, and I find that sad because you have these people that have lost everything. You have a lot of insurances that are not paying out because it was a natural disaster, a flood. But here's the problem I have with that it's not a natural disaster for that area because it's not in a floodplain. This is probably 100-year anomaly. Of course, there are a lot of people that think it was engineered through our government. And they do have a seeding program, and that the seeding program that they did is what caused that. Although White House is trying to say that it's due to climate change. And it's not due to climate change. You know, if you follow their tracking of what they say is climate change, that is not the reason you would see that kind of flooding, those kind of hurricanes. So, who knows? But the only other thing that I have heard today that state of North Carolina is finally releasing those tiny homes, giving them the permits to live in them as temporary housing. But at the same time, North Carolina governments are seizing all of the generators that people are bringing in to help people. You know, and even though it is a declared emergency, they have not declared martial law. So if that's not declared, they cannot confiscate things like they're doing. And both FEMA and the government officials in North Carolina keep seizing this property. And some of these people that have been bringing these in, you know, are thousands of dollars. One of the groups of men that brought in generators had specific lists of people that were disabled and needed them. And North Carolina government basically stole over $45,000 worth of their property. You know, giving it out to who they want to give it out to, or in some cases, selling it. So, yeah. And there's still a great need in all those places from, you know, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Virginia, Florida. Did I get them all? There's quite a few. They still have a lot of needs, but I see here where I think it's East Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Now there's raging wildfires. So, of course, those in North Carolina, they could use a lot of things for heat, clothing, coats, winter gear. So, and I saw where FEMA is now apologizing because over Thanksgiving they had lied to the residents that are there in North Carolina that they would be receiving their temporary housing trailers first of the week, and now they're apologizing because that's not true. It's extremely disappointing to me. There has been so much corruption in our government that they continue to do these things year after year and not serve the people that they supposedly serve. And that is just wrong. Just wrong. Anyway, let's get on to something else. So I am working on a hat for Operation Christmas Child. This hat pattern is on Bakwa's simple double crochet hat. And I do 3 different sizes. I do the 3 to 5 size. And I do the 6 to 10, I believe it is, and 10 to 16. Let me see what that is. 6 to 10, then the small teen. I make the small teen hats. Now, in her pattern, she uses a eye hook. And most of the time I do use an eye hook. However, this time I am using an H hook. And the only reason I'm using an H hook is because I do know in some areas, some of the children are smaller because of, nutritional needs not being met, those kind of things. So I do go down a hook size to an H, and so I can create a smaller hat than the original pattern. So it probably fit that 2 to 4 year old range. That OCC has for their shoe boxes. But that is the basis of what I've been doing so far. The only other thing that I have been doing is continuing to work on making beading kits for some of the girls for next year. Some of these things I'm considering using as filling to send up to the processing centers. But I try to keep myself busy the entire day that I have available to do these kind of things. Of course, today, normally I would have a Bible study in the morning. But because of the snow, we have canceled the Bible study, and I knew that would happen. So I have a little bit more time to work on a few more things. One of the other things that I'm working on is making butterflies that I sew that you can attach to hair barrettes and hair ties, those kind of things. They're awful cute for the girls. And it's just using scraps of fabric for that. So I've been doing that with some of my sewing as well. Got those things cut out so that once I finish doing a certain project, I have something else to continue to sew. When I sit down to sew, I do a lot of what I call batch sewing. Like when I'm doing bags, and if I've got making bags and I have the pouches, I'll make all the pouches first, do an assembly line, put in the zippers, but I don't finish them until after the zippers, all the zippers are in them, mainly because when you do that, you have to use a zipper foot, and I don't want to have to change the foot each and every pouch. So I just do that, one big batch, and then change my sewing foot and finish off the pouches, and then begin sewing on the bags in a different fashion. Now the backpacks are done a little bit differently. It is easier to do some batch sewing. With those as well. So you can do a couple of steps at a time so that you're not having to complete one bag, turn around, do something a little different for the next one. It's a little bit easier to do. Does it save on time? I don't know. Never tried it, have no idea if it really does save on time. I've had people tell me it does. But quite frankly, I've never timed it, so I don't have a clue. And by now, most of you know that Kimmy of Kim's Crochet and Knit has passed away. So one of the ways that you can support her family at this time, because they do have a lot of needs that need to be met monetarily, and I know Mark would really appreciate the assistance. If you would just go watch her videos, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to it and just put one of her playlists on and just watch one after the other. Go watch her lives. You can just put it on in the background while you're doing something else, you know, cleaning or sewing or whatever. That'll help the family out monetarily because she is monetized. And consider doing that to help with some of those funeral expenses. And as you know, Kimmy had a double lung transplant. She'd been on the list for quite some time. She finally had that, and it took her a long time to heal up, but she continued to do a couple of videos here and there and some lives, and then all of a sudden she kind of disappeared. Well, we don't really know why exactly what happened. But support her. And there were a lot of people. Sandy of Crochet A had done a video about that, and a lot of people gave her a lot of grief about it, and it's kind of ridiculous to do that to one another. So let's stop being so darn persnickety with people. Stop trying to tell people how they need to mourn another person's loss. We all mourn differently. So anyway, that's kind of what's been on my mind lately. What are you guys working on? Are you working still on Christmas projects? I do have in the back of my mind a Christmas project that I would like to do, and that is the little nativity scene that is a crochet along. So haven't got to it yet, and Lord knows I'd have to go find the yarn in the garage, so I don't know if I will ever get to it, but I am making sure that I save the patterns so that I can do that at a later date once things get a little less crazy. I am participating in the Battle of the Stitches, which I need to work on a little bit more of the project that I am doing so that I can give you guys a sneak peek this week and hopefully get that finished off, completed. And it's in between everything I'm doing, folks, so it's kind of crazy how busy life seems to be. And I'm retired, people. I shouldn't be this busy. Goodness. All right, hang on a second. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a needy cat. Was needing some loving. It's all over me. Guess he's tired of watching snow. Anyway, so what are you guys working on this week? Is there anything spectacular that you have planned for the next week or so? Next week, I am going to learn all about making a tea bomb. We have a guest speaker at one of my Bible studies, and we're making tea bombs. And basically what this is she does these education classes. She has a flower farm, I guess that's what you would call it, in, I believe in Watsontown, Pennsylvania. I'm not positive exactly where it's at. But anyway, wherever you go into her fields to look at those flowers, she has this path that you go through, and it tells you about the different flowers, if they're edible, what they're good for, you know, those kind of things. But it also is associated with a scripture. So it's kind of like a meditative walk, a labyrinth of sorts. But she also does these classes for creating different types of arrangements, all kinds of things like that. And then during the winter, she does one that is making tea bombs. And I believe she brings some of the dried edible flowers to put into your tea bombs if you would like to. So I'm looking forward to that next week. And I know a lot of the other gals are too. And don't ask me what's going on with my voice. You know, I was around the kids last night. Who knows? Maybe I picked up another virus. I know there's another virus going around. Simply because one of the usual table leaders with us was sick and couldn't come, which is an interesting time for us because we don't have enough people to help out to begin with. There is only one gentleman and I currently who are basically helpers to the table leaders. And we're not really just table leaders because we do a lot of things, teaching with the kids and that kind of thing anyway. It's just the table leader is responsible for the paperwork, which to me is my favorite part. I don't have to mess with the paperwork. But we had a couple of people that are out sick again, so whatever this new virus is, and I'm assuming it is also a stomach virus, which seems to go along with Thanksgiving. It's either that or flu. So, but, so my voice sounds a little rough and gravelly to me today, and I'm assuming I caught one of the new things from the kids. I'm hoping it's not the stomach virus, although I haven't had any signs of any of that. So, yeah. And I think what's interesting is we have, at our church, we have what's called a senior meal each month. And it is time for those that are 60 and older to get together and socialize. And during that time, one of the pastors does a devotion, which has always been a lot of fun, but we're having kind of a Christmas party this year on the 20th. And there's an Amish group of ladies that have made little favors with cookies in them for us, different cookies, Amish cookies. So that should be interesting. And I do know Amish like things very sweet. And I'm not talking just sweet, very sweet. So those will be interesting to see what they offer. Now, the gal that does this is also talking with the group and they're friends of hers, about doing that Amish wedding dinner for us one time. So we're looking into that, and I kind of hope that they will do that, because that will be interesting. If you've never been to an Amish dinner, if you ever get the chance, do so. They are absolutely amazing. Been to one before. There was an Amish woman that used to do these, I think twice a month. She was doing it in her home, and you could, I think it cost like $20 for the meal, but she had some other health issues, so she kind of stopped doing that. And no one else has picked it up, and that's kind of sad, because let me tell you, those were filled. I mean, there was no spot left. And it's just a lot of good fun, socializing, learning some of the Amish traditions that they do, because they would explain them as they went through, why they do this, why they do that, why they use this dish, and what it symbolizes. So, that's always a neat aspect of it. I don't know if you guys have seen the video going around. I did share it. It's a video of a knit and crochet cafe. I'm assuming it's in Japan. Japan is so far ahead of many of us. But you go in and you can get get a coffee, a drink, whatever, and, get a snack item, that kind of thing. But then they also have these little, what normally we would have the, like the little numbers letting the server know what your order was, so when they bring it out to you. These little placards, they're kind of like on the little poles with the clips on them. Basically, they're saying that they would like to meet new people who crochet or knit. They're alone or whatever. And so people will come and join your table, and you'll get to know new people, those kind of things. And I think that is such a cool idea. Of course, it'll be, 20, 25 years before it comes to the U.S. probably, but maybe one of you that's independently wealthy can fund one of those and start funding them around the world for us. Because I do miss my knit and crochet groups that used to meet at the fire hall and different places. We had a group that met at the hospital and then the fire hall, and I miss that. I miss that, sitting and talking with other people who are crocheting and knitting, and getting their takes and seeing the different patterns that they're working on and sharing ideas, those kind of things. The only time I am able to do that is with prayer shawl, and that is just once a month. And of course, I have had obligations that I had to go to for different reasons, different months, and didn't have that opportunity to go to the prayer shawl for the past 2 months. So, and it looks like I won't be able to go next month either, so I don't know. Oh, it's just crazy. Do you guys have any places like that that you're able to do that kind of thing? What do you think about that cafe with the knit and crochet? I think the only thing better would be one that was knit, crochet, and cats. Honestly, I think that could be the only thing that would be better. Oh, I missed the Boggy Creek video, and I've got to watch that a little bit later today. So most likely I'll put that on my iPad so I can watch it, watch it, listen to it while I'm sewing. I understand that there are quite a few patterns that are absolutely stunning this time around. So I'm looking forward to watching it to see some of those things. I enjoy trying different patterns, seeing the different patterns, and then if they're available online somewhere, tutorials, whatever, bookmarking them so I can watch them at a later date. Put them in my saved playlist, those kind of things. I do have a couple of more shout outs coming out this month. I've got another list I'm building. Let's see. We've got quite a few things I've been doing with the Healthy You. I'm looking at some other topics for Healthy You, as well as, doing the Battle of the Stitches. So those are kind of things that I'm working on right now. Also working on the tutorial for the Boggy Creek blanket that I was creating. Just using some different stitch patterns, that kind of thing, throughout this piece of work. And of course, should be fun. I'm trying to decide if I want to do one that's rectangular and then one that's square. Might be interesting to see how those two work out. You never know, right? Because I think it's square 40 by 40 is the size limit. Otherwise, I think it's the 35 to 40 by 50. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to double check. I always have to double check that. It's hard to remember some of those things sometimes. And do you guys ever have weird dreams? I had a strange dream the other night that I had gnomes that came in and they rearranged every piece of furniture in my house. Put them someplace that I did not have them originally put. That was the most bizarre dream I have ever had, I think, which involved gnomes. I have a small bag of little flowers and different little odds and ends that someone had crocheted, or pom-poms. Like a little tiny pom-pom. I don't think I'll put pom-poms onto the hats, just because I know how they fall apart in the wash. Never know how someone else is going to wash them. I do know that I get a lot of these small little, like flowers, like this kind of flower. And sometimes I like to stack them a little bit different if I can. Make them a little bit of a different flower. Those seem to be a little too big, so maybe I'll use something like this instead. To stack that, to put those on the hat. So I'm trying to decide what to do on this hat. Who knows? I do know this has been a fun one. This little loopy. And I think you make these on a loom. But those are kind of fun to put on hats. You know? So I don't know. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do. But I'm kind of playing around with it, looking around. Sometimes I put that on there with, you know, a little centerpiece. Someone made a very teeny tiny piece. So that's kind of fun to put in the center of one of these. Create something like that. So who knows? Like I said, I like to play with those and determine what I'm going to do, whatnot. But there's the nice little hat that's finished. I am going to let you go because my voice is starting to wear out. And I will see you again next week for another WOTWIP and Coffee. And somewhere in between then. Everybody have a great week. See you soon. Bye.